Hello and welcome to this video from Never a Truer Word. Hello, watching live right now. Hope you've had a good day. Hello, if you're watching on catch up. If you're watching live, if you're watching on catch up, get involved in the comments. Would love to deal with your questions. Would love to get interactive. That's why I am doing this live. Plus, also, it only means I need to do it in one take, which is always something to enjoy. So today we're going to look at Maddie Russo. It's true crime with a difference, and that it is actual crime. It is not just down to true murder or true missing peoples. This is fraud. This is alleged fraud. This is a scam. And Maddie Russo has been charged with pretending that she's had cancer and then scamming $37,000 from well-wishers online. She said she had a pancreatic cancer the size of a football on her spine, but apparently has never had treatment for cancer in her life, has never been diagnosed with cancer in her life, and all the pictures that she put on social media to generate this money and to generate this sympathy were all fake. So is there anything we could say when she was carrying out this alleged scam? Is there anything that we could have done to look at the words she was using and see if she was lying or not? Well, let's look at an interview that she did in, when was this interview? October 2022. So this is the peak of this scam when she was trying to get this money, allegedly. And let's look at the words that she uses and see if we could find out if there was any pointers to the fact she was lying. What she will be doing is using something I call truthful deception if she is lying, which is really easy to get your head around, is that we don't like lying. People do not like telling lies. It's real hard work. So to tell a good lie, actually, what to do is tell the truth. Sounds counterintuitive. You don't tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Instead, you cherry pick the truth and you only tell selective bits of the truth. You admit stuff, you leave a lot of stuff out. But if you stick with as much truth as you can, it's the best way of telling a lie. Con artists are well practiced at doing this. So actually, as well as looking for maybe linguistic indicators that that Maddie is lying, it's going to be the truth that she tells that's going to give her away, if it gives her away at all. But what is she telling the truth about? So let's look at the words that she has used in this interview. The first quote in that interview is, "Life has been crazy. It's like a catch-22. I can't win for losing. I feel like I've been rocked to my soul, and right now, everything is kind of uncertain. I just want to know my game plan, and right now, I don't know what that is." This could be entirely truthful. No, she doesn't say once that she's got cancer. She doesn't say once why life has been crazy. She doesn't say why she feels like she's been rocked to her soul or why everything is uncertain. So this could be entirely truthful. But look, she doesn't once say here that her problem is the fact that she's got cancer, the fact that maybe she's got only a limited amount of time to live. She doesn't mention any of that whatsoever. So she could be telling the truth here. And it's one of those things where if you do this enough, then you will build into what you hear to get to the end point that she wants us to get to, which is that she has incurable cancer and needs money for treatment. But she doesn't once say in this introductory thing that she has cancer. Maybe I've got a bit of hindsight going on here, but she does say that the catch-22, there's uncertainty. I don't know my game plan. Perhaps things have become bigger than she thought. Perhaps she thought this was going to be a little white lie just to get some money, and it's taken off big time. And that's where she doesn't know what the game plan is. She feels like it's catch-22 and that I've started something that's worked, but it's worked beyond my dreams. But I can see she's fixated on playing a game. Look at, she said, I don't know my game plan. And where is it? Life's been crazy. I can't win for losing. So I can't win for losing in game plan. So I think something in her language there says that she is playing a game. I can't talk for every cancer patient in the world ever, but I very rarely hear a cancer patient talking about winning or having a game plan. Let's move on with Maddie's words. She says, of course, every day can't be sunshine and rainbows, but if you can't just choose to be mad at the cancer, it just happens to people. If you stay depressed and in a dark place, I feel like your body will never get better. Now, she's finally mentioned cancer. But if you look, she doesn't once say that she has cancer. She doesn't once say that she's suffering from cancer either. Look, she talks about you. It's you can't just choose to be mad at cancer. It just happens to people. not her. It happens to people. If you stay depressed, not I am depressed with my cancer diagnosis, but if you stay depressed, and I feel like your body will never get better. So she's talking in a general term about cancer here. She's talking about how it affects you, which is the general population, people who have cancer. It happens to people. Once again, she hasn't said she has cancer. She's telling the truth. She's talking in general terms about cancer. She doesn't have the language to explain how cancer has affected her. Why would that be? Because cancer hasn't affected her. In the interview, she goes on to talk about when she found out about the diagnosis. And she says, it was early in the morning and I'd been anxiously waiting these test results. My phone rang and it said Iowa City Oncology. I stepped out of the classroom and took the call. Now, this is a bit of deceptive language for me. It's just too detailed. It's just, there's too much going on. Really, the only important thing is they called me when I was in a classroom and I stepped outside to take the call. So this picture painting, it was early in the morning. And are you in a class early in the morning or are you in a class in the morning? I don't know, but it doesn't sit right with me. I had been anxiously awaiting these test results. Of course, if it was cancer test results, you would be anxiously awaiting them. The word anxiously doesn't need to be in there. I've just been awaiting these test results. So she's overly trying to paint a picture to convince us that this is a real story here, I think. She goes on to say, they told me they had found a mass in my pancreas and that I had stage 2 pancreatic cancer. I was terrified, and I definitely still am. I was in shock. I didn't think it could be true. I'm so young, and I wondered how this could happen. I went through all the emotions, and I was pretty numb. Again, this doesn't ring true to me. The choice of words just doesn't ring like it comes from a genuine experience. Giveaways there, like I was terrified, and I definitely still am. So there's the tense change there. I was terrified means I was terrified in the past. I'm not terrified anymore. Then she remembers that if she's got cancer and chances are she's going to die, she may still be terrified. So she corrects herself and says, I was terrified and I definitely still am. And it's not just I still am. It's I definitely still am. A word put in to persuade us that she really means it. Why does she need to persuade us? Because she's not telling the truth. And then everything else here it's all a bit, it doesn't hang together well. I was in shock. I didn't think it could be true. I'm so young and wondered how this could happen. I went through all the emotions and I was pretty numb. So it's conflicting stuff. I was numb means you felt nothing. But then she says, I went through all the emotions. Well, that means you felt everything. So in one sentence, she's saying, I felt everything and I felt nothing. Maddie carries on. I remember hanging up the phone and I was a mess. I was literally bawling, but somehow I ended up getting the courage to wipe away my tears and went back into the class, which now, when I think about it, was pretty crazy. She mentioned crazy twice in this interview. She said it was a crazy time at the very beginning as well. So yeah, I'm not sure a lot of people talk about cancer diagnosis, living with cancer as crazy. Interesting. What's crazy potentially is the fact that she's famous on TikTok for having pancreatic cancer and a tumor the size of a football, apparently. And she doesn't. Maybe that would be crazy. The other thing I spot in here is she says I was getting the courage to wipe away my tears and went back into the class. If you think about it, the courage would be to go back into the class after having such a bombshell bit of news. It would be getting the courage to go back into the class, not to wipe away the tears. Wiping away tears it's a natural thing that you do when you're crying. It's not something that takes a lot of courage. Whew. Also, I remember when someone tells you, when someone tells you what they remember, if they say, I remember before telling you a memory, it's always a warning sign. Why? They need to tell us that you remember something. If you're telling us something that happened in the past, just tell us it. You don't need to put this big flag on it saying, I remember this. Why? Why do people do that? Often because they don't remember doing it. They're trying to tell us that I remember doing this to make it more true. And I think that's what's coming through in a lot of her language. Maddie's language in this interview is she puts in things like, I'm definitely still terrified. I was anxiously awaiting the call. And I remember hanging up the phone to convince us that what she's saying is true because she fears not being believed. And why do you fear not being believed? when you're not being honest. Oh, time for a breather. Any comments, then get them in the comments and we'll deal with them as we go. Any observations, any questions as well on Maddie and the cancer scam. I'm going to have a quick drink before we continue. Hold on. Okay, Maddie continues. When you hear pancreatic cancer, it's so nasty. You never want to get cancer, and if you do get diagnosed, you can't choose where you get it. Of all the ones, why does it have to be this one? I hope you spotted it again. She doesn't say she has pancreatic cancer or she has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer once here. When you hear pancreatic cancer, it's so nasty. You never want to get cancer. If you get diagnosed, you can't choose where you get it. Of all the ones, why does it have to be this one? She doesn't once again, she doesn't say she has cancer. She talks about you having cancer, which is not directly to you, but is you in general terms. And you can't argue with any of that. When we hear pancreatic cancer, that does sound nasty. We never want to get cancer. And if you do get diagnosed, you cannot choose where you get your cancer. The cancer goes where cancer goes. That's all true. You cannot argue with the word that Maddie said here. Only that she is not talking from the experience of herself having cancer. She is making this up. She's taking some ownership. My tumor is on the tail of my pancreas, and it's very deep-rooted. Doctors said that if they went in, the surgery would do more harm. There was more risk than reward. So I'm going to go back to that. She does here say she has a tumor. Now, it's the first time in a lot of words that she says she has a tumor, and it's on the tail of her pancreas. But again, there's a little bit of contradiction here. Doctors said if they went in, the surgery would do more harm. Then she says there was more risk than reward. Now, that contradicts itself there because doctors said if they went in, the surgery would do more harm, not more harm than good, or there was a risk that they'd do more harm than good. Just doctors said if they went in, the surgery would do more harm. That is saying it's inoperable. The doctors cannot operate on the tumor. And then she says there was more risk than reward. Well, you've been told there is only risk, there is no reward from what you've said previously. So again, you're contradicting yourself here, Maddie, with what you're saying. Why would that be? Because it's not honest, because it's not true. And again, risk and reward. This is someone who we talked about winning in a game plan earlier. I think I can see what's high priority in Maddie's mind here. She goes on, I'm just trying to continue on with life and still go to school, work, and keep doing things are normal. Can't argue with that. Again, this is probably really honest. It just doesn't talk about having cancer. Obviously, my normal has changed. She doesn't say why. She just says it's changed. Again, nothing about cancer. I'm home a lot, and with the treatments, you're very sick, and they can get you down. She doesn't say she's very sick. Just cancer treatments make people very sick, make you very sick. I try to go at it with the best attitude because I think your attitude during treatment can play a big part in your outcome. Look at it again. What does she take ownership of? Things that have nothing to do with cancer specifically. They're in the yellow there. I'm just trying to continue on with my life. My normal has changed. I'm home a lot. I try to go at it, and I think the things that she takes ownership and she puts herself to with I and my are generic things. They're just things that happen to people. When she talks about cancer, it's you again. It's general. You're very sick. They can get you down. Your attitude during treatment can play a big part in your outcome. So again, Maddie, not saying that she's got cancer. She doesn't actually talk about having it at all here. She says, I feel like when you deal with cancer, you just never know when it's going to happen or what that's going to do. That's the unfortunate part. I wish everybody could just be cured and you could move on. As for me, I'm just going to ride it out. You deal with cancer. You never know what's going to happen. I think you can spot these before. Wendy, thank you very much for the comment. Wendy says, I love your style. It's so unique and interesting. And lots of thumbs up emojis, man. Wendy, thank you so much for the comment. This is the reason why I do it live, because I like to hear from people. So Wendy, thank you for your comment. Love it. Back to Maddie, who, unlike Wendy, is just not talking about having cancer. And I get it. You could say this is all hindsight. I wouldn't have spotted it in that interview in October and gone, she's lying. She's at it. She's making this all up, because she's not talking about her having cancer. She's talking about people having cancer in general. And this must happen all the time. Well, does it? I pulled out a quote here from Deborah James, who died of cancer, bowel cancer, I think, last summer. Deborah said in one of her final interviews, "You always want to know as a mother, are your kids going to be okay? And my kids are going to be fine. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to miss every chance I could have had with them." And look at Deborah. She does start by saying, you always want to know as a mother, are your kids going to be okay? That's in that general sense that that Maddie was talking in. And I get that. There's again, I can't argue with what Deborah said there. Mothers always want to know, are the kids going to be okay? But then Deborah, she says, my kids are going to be fine. She takes ownership of it. I'm not going to miss every chance that I could have had with them. So she puts I and me right in there. Some more from Deborah James, one of her final interviews. I've always said I don't want to leave any stone unturned. And just compare this with Maddie, who was all, you have cancer, you can't choose it, your attitude is important. Look at what Deborah says here with the words. I've always said I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I don't think there isn't a stone we haven't tried to unturn to make my liver work again in order to get my body functioning. Unfortunately, I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted. We've got to the point now where I can't really do anything more. Shortly after that interview, Deborah died as a result of her cancer. The person who didn't own the stories by saying I and me and my, still alive and has been charged with a lot of fraud. So what's the moral of the story? Is it to find out if someone is lying, you need to look for somebody telling the truth? Yeah, kind of. No, look for personal commitment. If someone is saying, I'm doing things and this affects me this way and my life has changed, if they own it through their pronouns, if they join themselves in with words like I, me, my, then they're more likely to be telling the truth and telling you about their experiences. If someone uses words just like Maddie did that are full of yous and talking in generals, she could still be telling the truth. But look exactly what it is she's saying. She very rarely actually said she had cancer. In fact, she could be in a lot of trouble for mostly telling the truth. I think 95% of what she said, if you watch her videos, 95% of what she said is the truth. Just a hell of a misleading truth that she told. So there you go. If you want a lesson from this, look for the personal commitments. Look for someone saying, I do something. It affects me this way and my life this way. When they use those words, it's much more likely they are being truthful than someone who talks about in general terms or talks about you a lot or says, yeah, my life has changed, but doesn't actually say why. Look for the personal commitment. You can find me on the socials. Connect.neveratruerword.com is where to go to join up socially. There's a new podcast coming out. So go to podcast.neveratruerword.com if you want to be fascinated by the words that O.J. Simpson used in his police interview the day after his ex-wife and her friend were murdered. And also you can check out videos.neveratruerword.com for more videos like this. Helen, thank you very much for your comment on my passion for exposing someone for scamming. I don't like scammers at all. So thank you very much. And we'll see you for another video on Never a Truer Word soon.